If you would have told me on June, hell, even July 1st, that the 2026 Boston Red Sox would be in a playoff spot, 3 games over 500, and essentially a lock for the third wild card spot, I probably would have called you crazy. I don't know what else I would have done. I would have just I am this team is magical beyond words. Okay, so like a full honesty, when we started winning, I just kept expecting a loss every single time, and then we just kept winning and kept winning and kept winning. There's a few key moments that point out. This video is going to be a lot of blabbling. It's going to be a long video, probably around 45 minutes. But there's a few key moments where I thought the win streak was going to end. The White Sox series, I thought we were going to lose that. Hell, even go back to actually that was before the series, before the winning streak. But the White Sox series, the final game of the series, we're winning 2-1. I thought we were going to lose that game. The Mets series, I thought we were going to lose the last game. We won that game. The Rays series, obviously Willier hits a giant home run to put us ahead. Thought we were going to lose that game. There's so many moments where I expect us to lose and we keep winning. Go to a few nights ago, Durbin hits a go-ahead shot in the eighth, the bottom of the eighth. Everything is clicking for this team at once, and it has resulted in a playoff spot. If we had missed the playoffs this year, which I'm not saying we are going to make the playoffs this year, but I'm just saying there's a very high expectancy for us to make the playoffs right now. If we didn't make the playoffs in this week of American League, I would have been so pissed off. Craig definitely would have lost his job. There would be Red Sox Nation would be so upset. Everyone would be upset. And that's currently not the case. So I really wanted to do a video on exactly what the deadline I think should look like. And what I did was, first off, we are, just to kind of get it out there, obviously we won 14 straight. We're a lock for that third playoff spot right now. Cleveland will not stop losing, which is really annoying. They're still 1.5 up on us. The Yankees, as far as the division, the Rays just won recently, so they're obviously up. We're only 6.5 back from the division, which was kind of obviously beating the Rays was awesome. The first place Rays. But we kind of made it a little easier for the Yankees to overtake us, but the Yankees suck, and we all know that. So, trade deadline. I kind of tore this up a few different ways, right? Well, let's start over here, right? So, I got really bored one day, and I went through all the teams that I think are going to be sellers currently. This is as of it says 7/20. Which is the day I am recording this. Actually, the day before I'm recording this. So I'm recording this on the 21st. I just hadn't updated the dates yet. Regardless, everything kind of still stands. I have listed teams that are selling, and I have listed fringe teams that are currently kind of in this limbo state where they don't know what to do exactly. The American League's so bad this year, which kind of helps with a lot of these teams. So the teams I have identified that are sellers. The Tigers, they're a really interesting one. They're like I can see right here. They're 4.5 back from wild card, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. They have the whole Skubal thing looming. So they're a team that is highly underperformed this year. The Angels, that's expected. The Angels are going to sell, and that's a certainty. The Mets are going to sell. The Tigers might even belong in the fringe team thing regardless. The Mets suck, so they're going to be sellers. Big sellers this year. They get some huge stuff back. The Reds are currently last place in the NL Central, and a stacked NL Central, by the way. The Giants are definitely sellers, and the Rockies are definitely sellers, right? And then I've identified some teams that are fringe teams. Teams that the Twins are on this list. I don't know. I thought the Twins were going to be horrible this year, and they were for a while, and then they got really hot recently. They were actually behind us in the wild card. They're still, they're 3.5 back, but that's not a good team. I don't know why they're as good as they are. Again, the American League is so bad this year. The Mariners are an interesting one. So the Mariners and Rangers are currently flip-flopping for first in their division. As I'm recording this video, the Mariners are losing and the Rangers are winning. So the Rangers might overtake first. It might be a first place tie regardless, whatever. Those are teams that are hovering over 500. They've highly underperformed this year. Again, like they could be in that kind of limbo state. Marlins are interesting. They've lost like 7 straight games. Pete Fairbanks is dreadful as their closer. He cost them a game which they should have probably won. So they're another fringe team that could be on the outskirts looking in, or they could sneak into that final wildcard spot. If you're curious, the final wildcard spot in the NL belongs to the Cardinals, which they're tied with the Marlins and the Pirates. Pirates could also be included on this fringe teams. They're a team that under the season I expected them to kind of be where they are right now, right around 500. The Nationals are super interesting. The Nationals hit the shit out of the ball. They just can't have any pitching. And the Padres are really interesting because they can't hit for anything. Although they are heating up a little bit, but not really. The D-backs are still ahead of them. But AJ Preller is going to do his thing at the deadline. So those are the teams. I broke this down into 3 categories that I think we need at the deadline if we are going to be buyers, assuming we're going to be buyers. Because realistically, man, there's 12 games left till the trade deadline, I want to say, for this team. So even if they went like 6-6, they would still be 57 and 50. God, my math is horrible. 54, right? So they'd still be 3 over the thing. So regardless, I think we're going to be in a buying position. I mean, I have on here selling. I'm going to talk about that towards the very end. This is going to be a long video. Again, there's really going to be not a lot of editing here. I just kind of want to shoot the shit and just talk about the Sox this year. So assuming we don't lose, which this team's hot as fucking firecracker right now, so I don't think we're going to lose. But assuming we do lose, I'm going to have a selling aspect to this too. I broke this down into 3 categories I think we really need. Middle infield is one thing. Story obviously sucked and then got hurt. Marcelo then sucked. Monasterio's filled in nicely, well, kind of for Leffer's been hurt, who was kind of contributing nicely. Siegler's been a breath of fresh air. Chain is the literal GOAT. I keep saying it. If that ball gets by Chain in the Chappie saves, which are genuinely horrifying now, like, Jesus, man, he's going to blow one. It's going to be a bad blow soon. If that ball gets by Chain, it gets into the outfield for Duran. The Rays already had, or the Rays, I'm thinking of another series. There's multiple Chapman saves that have terrified me. The Orioles have Gunnar on second and someone on third. Duran has a noodle arm. He's probably still throwing out Gunnar, which then makes it a tie game. Regardless, Chen saved a run, saved that series. Well, this first game of the series, saved the win streak. Middle infield, something we probably need to address. Second base has been really a revolving door since Pedroia left, which is almost a decade ago. Jesus Christ. Shortstop, I mean, Story had an awesome year last year, but that's kind of looking like an outlier year in the contract. He could come back and perform, who knows. Monastery has filled in nicely for a while there. He kind of sucked, and now he's become an extra base hit machine. So middle infield, something we probably need to address. I have a few names here. Shortstop, second base, really anyone. Bullpen. So the bullpen's been nails for a while now. Guys like Guerrero have been awesome stories. Whitlock's been doing his thing this year. Chappie's been scaring me, but he's doing his thing as well. Kaloum kind of sucked for a while. Guerrero's been awesome again. There's been other guys that have just not. Slayton's been great lately. The bullpen's been awesome. The thing that it's lacking right now is a lefty. Given Giovanni Moran has been amazing when when he's coming into the game, but that hasn't been a lot lately. Which I don't know why we haven't been bringing into a lot of lefty scenarios. Weissert's even been great lately. So we only really have two arms in the bullpen that are lefties. Weissert or not Weissert. That would be awesome if Weissert was a lefty. Moran and Chappie. So I think we need another lefty in the pen. I have righties on here too because I mean bullpens make a super bullpen, right? That's the idea. Catching depth is another thing. Connor's had an awesome year. Connor Juan, that is. He's had a great year so far. His on base percentage is literally like 380. Maybe not that high, but like 370, 360, which is crazy impressive for a guy who literally didn't hit a home run last year. Narvi's had a really rough year. So that's why I think the catching depth might need to be addressed. That's the one kind of weakness on this team currently. But again, Connor's been awesome, dude. Connor Juan's been getting the job done as of late. So catching depth is something we could definitely work on. And then I obviously have the selling category. So I say let's start at middle infield. So I've identified guys here by a few different categories. The yellow here is meh. That's a strictly just a reinforcement type thing. Nice is the green. These are guys who could definitely help out this team in a positive way. Reinforcements. The guys like Arise and Glaber on this list, those are guys that could really help us out. And then big trade, that's the blue, the baby ocean blue, I like to call it. So let's start out with the big guys here. Lindor, that's an interesting one. I didn't really hear about a Lindor rumor trade until probably a few weeks ago. The Mets, a rival executive, I guess, came out and said the Mets a rival executive of the Mets was talking to someone in the Mets front office and said they're apparently willing to be open to guys selling guys. Soto was on that list, which is really weird. I can't imagine signing someone to a $760 million contract to sell them off 2 years later. The Mets are a disaster. But Lindor kind of declined to comment, and there was this whole kind of rumor will that, maybe Lindor might get traded. But I don't really see that happening, to be honest with you. But it's a fever dream. Obviously, his year's kind of been rough so far. He got hurt, lower half injury, I believe. But Lindor's a great player, man. The defense has been kind of weirdly average mid this year, but again, he hasn't played much, so that could probably contribute to part of it. He's been heating up a little bit lately. Obviously, he's 32, the back half of that contract. But I honestly think the Mets are going to hold on to him. I have another guy, Jacob Wilson, on here. I kind of I just went through teams that are probably selling, which the A's are on this list, by the way. I don't know why they're not here. They're there, I can tell you. So the A's are another one that are definitely going to be on this list as far as selling. They went on a massive losing streak lately. The A's are in an interesting spot at shortstop because you have Leo DeVries coming up. Obviously, he's still like 2 or 3 years away. Jacob Wilson was awesome last year. Nearly a Rookie of the Year winner. This year's been kind of weird. He's still been great. Or he's still been like okay. The defensive short has really been showing up this year lately for him, which is nice to see. But he's another young guy, not a free agent for another almost 10 years. It would take a lot to get rid of him because he's currently trying to build with that core with the A's. Kind of the opposite of the Lindor thing. Wilson is part of that core with Soderstrom, Rooker, Kurtz, all those guys, Law Dog, all those kind of guys, right? So that would be another trade that is would be a massive trade if it happens. So I just kind of include these two in the list just to kind of see what happens. The final kind of name in this blue category that really interests me is Zach Neto. So the Angels are notorious for holding on to guys for a while. And to be honest, they don't really have much coming up as far as shortstop prospects coming up. But we recently saw Neto in the Angels series. He took Chappie deep. So Neto's a guy that like I would love to have because yes, he strikes out. He's a leader in strikeouts with like 138 or something this year. But the dude like barrels the ball up. He barrels the ball up. The defense is rough, obviously. As you can see, the OAA is literally -8. His DRS is slightly positive. The defense has definitely been rough for him. But he's the guy that was thrown around this past offseason. There were literally trade rumors the trade was not almost done, but the Angels were asking for a little bit more than we were willing to give up. Again, he's a guy who I think would be awesome fitting for this team. Another young guy, a few years in the league. Neto would be awesome, to say it bluntly. Another guy I was thinking about including in this list that would kind of been in this category is CJ Abrams. But I think he's part of that Nationals core. He's obviously having a baller year. I think they're trying to go build around Abrams and Wood. They just need pitching. If they get any semblance of pitching, they're probably going to be good. But we have seen in that National Series, dear God, they need pitching. They need a bat, right? Next category is green. Again, these are just guys that I found in the list. Willie Castro is an interesting one. He's having an okay year in cores. He's more of a util guy. He plays second, short, and third. He would be a depth piece at this point. He's a free agent in 2028. Again, he's having like an okay year. Defense is kind of rough, slightly. He's just a guy I thought I would include this list. Vaughn Grissom, obviously former Sock. He's just become ARB eligible. He's having a good year out in Anaheim. That'd be funny if we did bring him back. Cole Keith is an interesting one. He's kind of strictly a platoon guy against righties. But I mean, he's a guy who's not a free agent until 2033. If you remember, he got that deal before he debuted for the Tigers. He kind of had a rough start to the year, but he's kind of balled out recently. He would again be kind of that piece off the bench, occasional playing time, which the Tigers might want to hold on to him because he's kind of their guy. He's kind of the equivalent of Kerry Carpenter in the infield, as far as a guy who hits righties pretty well. Moving to this right category, Luis Arraez is a guy who I legitimately think could come to the Sox. Obviously had a kind of rough year last year. The singles thing really came through this year. He wasn't hitting for that high of an average, but this year his average is back up to 320. He's slugging a little bit more. The pop's kind of there. The homers aren't there, but the doubles and triples are there just because of where he plays in AT&T Park, I think it is. Oracle. Is it Oracle? It's Oracle. Oracle Park, where the Giants play. Giant little triples alley over there. He's hitting into that part of the park recently. The big thing with the Rise this year is the defense has been incredible. 9 OAA. And he is also a free agent at the end of the year, so it'd be a rental. It would probably take a lot to get him realistically. The dude's obviously already accumulated nearly 3 WAR. So he's been good. He's been good this year, man. He's a guy I could legitimately see coming to the Sox. Casey Schmidt, one of his teammates, the huge homer year this year. He already has 20, I believe. Just became ARB eligible, obviously. The defense is kind of rough. He kind of plays around the infield a little bit. He's playing second, I think. Second, short, and third, I think he's rotating with. I was originally included Willy Adames on this list, and then I looked at how bad of a year. This dude has a -12 OAA. He's a below average player by WRC plus and OPS plus. He's just not good anymore, dude. I don't know what happened to Willy Adames. Like San Francisco literally killed that guy. Casey Schmidt's an interesting one. Again, the power is real this year, dude. He's a righty. Could probably throw him in there. Could play well in Fenway. Pulls the ball a lot too, so that's another name that obviously could stick out there. Gleyber's an interesting one. Signed a 1-year deal with the Tigers in the offseason. He was floated around even this past offseason coming to the Sox. Kind of filled the whole second. He's a free agent again at the end of this year. He's a huge on base guy. Really leaned into that the past few years. He also has some decent slug. The defense with Gleyber has never been great. It's slightly below average this year, which I'll take.
He's been hurt a few times this year, just coming back from injury. Just recently, he's definitely going to be on the move. Again, the Tigers are in that weird limbo state where I don't know what the hell they're going to do. But if they do, I mean, Glaber, he'd help this team. Righty, he had pretty good numbers at Fenway before, if I remember correctly. So that's another name that you could kind of stick out there. Moving to the yellow category. I don't know why I put Nick Lofton on this list realistically. But he is a Royals player, and they are definitely selling. Again, I should say Royals. This is the only accurate one, by the way. Let me just do this real quickly. Just so this doesn't drive me crazy the entire list. There we go. I'm going to do it here too. Perfect. The Royals are obviously underperforming heavily this year. Nick Lofton, he's been playing a lot of second this year. He's having a decent year, actually. But I think it's just because of how bad the Royals have been, is because he's like an above-average player, and they're like, oh, wow, above-average player in the Royals. Outside of Bobby Witt. -7 OA is slightly terrifying. So this, again, would be literally a reinforcement piece that we would just add to this team just to slightly make us better. He has a lot of control attached to him, too. But then again, there's guys like Siegler. IKF's coming back soon. So man, like middle infield, something that we probably should address. At least I would honestly like kind of spitball on here again. This video doesn't really have a script. If we didn't do a lot and just sort of made some minor additions to this team, the way this team's rolling right now, we should be perfectly fine. I'm just kind of worried that some of the guys might start slumping a little bit. Or summer team, the fall's kind of going to roll around. I don't know what's going to happen then. But if we did nothing, I wouldn't be happy. But I would also be like, this team was showing no weaknesses in the past 2 weeks. So not adding makes sense, because doesn't make sense. Just want to put that forward. We should, I'm making a video for the reason for us to add shit to this team. But there's specific needs that this team needs to address, but the team's been playing so well recently that those needs have kind of been masked. Middle infield is just something I thought of. Durbin's obviously been great over a third. Catching depth I'm going to get to in a second. WC-40's been awesome at third, or first, sorry. Durbin's turnaround has been incredible, man. I know I have made a video this season, but well, I have, but just not about baseball. Durbin, literally, bro. I loved the trade when it happened. I actually, if you remember, I did an infield thing, and I said Andrew Monasterio and Durbin could be on the move. They came to the Sox, so I'm basically a fortune teller, as far as people come to the Sox. So whoever's on this list, someone on this list is coming to the Sox. I can pretty much guarantee that. So you have that to look forward to. But Durbin's been great this year, man. Outfield, Seti and Willier have been godsends, especially Seti. Offensively, the dude's been awesome. Jaron has been bad. He's just been bad. Dude's OPS is literally approaching 600. Which what I meant by that is it's going below 600 now. Roman's been hurt, unfortunately. Moss has been amazing this year. Just defensively, Moss is kind of terrifying to watch. Eaton's been out there a little bit, so yeah, I mean, like that's I just think middle infield's an area where there's clearly kind of like a black hole. Leadoff too. Some of these guys could lead off and kind of provide a spark to the lineup. Siegler's kind of been struggling on the leadoff spot lately. Let's do catching depth. How about that? Because bullpen's kind of going to be a little long one here. So bullpen, kind of the same deal as far as the sorting out here. I'll start with Jeffers, actually, right? So the Twins are in that weird spot. I think they're going to sell. I think they're going to free fall, and then they're going to sell. Jeffers is a free agent at the end of this year. He had a great first few games. First, like 20, 30-ish games. Got hurt. I believe he fractured his hamate.
Could also be a lower half injury. I probably should have looked into that beforehand. But he's been awesome. Especially if we could snatch him away from the Yankees. That'd be especially great. But he's a catcher. He'll get the job done. He already had two BWAR in literally like 30 games played. So he would have been on a crazy pace. He's getting on base a lot this year. The pop's been there. Just homer tonight against the Guardians, who will not stop losing. I really want to take that second place wildcard spot. They just won't stop losing. But regardless, Jeffers is awesome. He's been kind of a stalwart for the Twins the last few years recently. He's obviously a free agent again at the end of this year, so it would be a rental. But he would kind of shore up that catching spot and kind of place Juan in a nice backup position. Narvi kind of can go there. Catching depth is again something that I wouldn't be mad if we don't address. I just think it's like if you're trying to nitpick this team in a current 14 game winning streak, which is crazy me even saying that, catching depth is probably something you're going to look at. So Jeffers would definitely fill that hole. Jonah Heim is purely a backup depth piece at this point. He's actually had a nice year, specifically with the A's recently. He had that crazy series when they played in Vegas. He had a literal pop-up in like 29 parks. That just left because of the elevation in Vegas. So he's had a nice year for him. He's a positive defender behind the dish. Connor's a little rough. He's not actually that rough. He's like okay behind the dish. He's a free agent at the end of this year, so that would again be purely a backup. If we're dreaming here, Hunter Goodman would be a godsend for this team. This guy has 30 homers. He's probably going to hit 45 if we're being realistic, right? He's just becoming ARB eligible. The defense is like just slightly below average. It's still great. This would be a massive trade if we could pull it off, and a lot of things would have to go from this team, but luckily we have the depth to do so. So the Rockies would be... I don't even know if the Rockies would be willing to trade him. I just think they're in such a weird period right now where they actually have a nice young core growing up, like Rumfield, Carrig, and all those guys, even Kyle Karros. But to get Goodman, you'd have to give up a lot. Again, we have the prospect capital to do so. There's a few guys I wouldn't be willing to part with. Arias is one that I would be like, okay, I really want to see Franklin Arias at a big league level, specifically at short, kind of shore up that position for the future. Even second base, that would be okay. But Goodman would be a dream, dude. He'd shore up that catching spot. Again, that would kind of leave Juan Narvaez in a weird spot because one of them, we'd have 3 catchers on the team. And Goodman would obviously be under control for a while. Again, snatch away from the Yankees. That would be nice. Be very nice. Was there any other catchers on this list that I thought about including that didn't? Langoliers. Same thing with Wilson that I was saying earlier. He's part of that core for the future. Jensen's the same thing. The Royals do have a... Maybe... Oh, Mitchell. Yeah. Garrett something. Maybe Mitchell's his last name. Blake Mitchell? I think I just combined Blake Perkins and Garrett Mitchell. Regardless, they have a catching prospect in their system. Carter Jensen is probably going to be the catcher of their future. Dingler's been godsend for the Tigers, so they're not going to trade him. Ohapi's ass. Luis Torrens was another name I initially thought about including, but he's strictly a backup. Stevenson Trevino. Giants catching depth is shit. Twins, obviously, I already mentioned Jeffers. Backup for Cal. It's Garver, who's ass. Marlins are an interesting one that I thought about including maybe. They have Joe Mack and Liam Hicks kind of fighting for that catching spot right now, but they've started to move Hicks over to first a little, which is kind of give Mack a little bit more DH positional variety, but either of those guys I'd be okay with. Nationals have Keeber and Harry Ford. And the Padres have Campazano and Fermin with Salas coming off the pipeline. So I think that's it for catching depth.
Again, that's an area where if we're really trying to nitpick, that's something you can work on, right? Middle infield too. Just areas of the team that in a current crazy win streak that you notice, right? Bullpen. I have lefty preferred here because Kalum got DFA'd. He was kind of terrifying every time he came into the game. Giovanni Moran again has been amazing when he's come in, particularly in a lefty standpoint. Weissert's been kind of filling that role against lefties recently, which is kind of interesting. There's a lot of guys in this list. So I have righties on this list too. We can talk about the righties first. If we're dreaming here, dude, Mason Miller. Imagine a bullpen with Garrett Whitlock, Mason Miller, and Aroldis Chapman. You literally have the game's over by the 6th inning. Even includes Slayton and Guerrero in there. The game's over by the 5th inning. So starter gives you time. The game's gonna be over. Mason Miller has had an unbelievable year. I literally thought this was an error. This dude has a .53 FIP. 0.53. Half of 1 is his FIP. His K minus walk ratio is 40%. His whip is under 9. This dude is insane. Free agent in 2030. The Padres might not even contend. They have bullpen depth to choose from. Send him to the Sox, bro. Weaver's kind of the same deal. Free agent into 2028. Recently got signed to a 2-year deal by the Mets. He's had an amazing year. Same thing with Miller, dude. Mason Miller's obviously better than Luke Weaver. But being a setup guy, kind of closer for him. Obviously, the Mets currently have Devin Williams, so parting with Luke is probably going to happen. You have to assume. But having Luke Weaver would be awesome. As far as some of these high-end lefties, Minter's been awesome for the Mets. He's a free agent at the end of this year. He missed the first year due to injury, at least most of it. So he's awesome. He's kind of getting up there in age, 32. But his K minus walk ratio is almost 21% too, so that's great to see. Who got him? Someone hit a homer off him. Did we rally off him recently? I think Monasterio went deep off him with the Mets series. He would be a nice bullpen lefty depth addition for this team. John King's one that I kind of was super interested to win. If we're sorted by whip here, I think John King has the lowest whip on this team, on this entire list here. It's 0.75. Better whip than Mason Miller, by the way. He's a free agent in 2028. Nice lefty year for the Marlins. Again, they're in that weird limbo state right now. I think they're currently losing to the Astros as well, so they're probably going to lose 8. The walks are a little bit scary with him. I don't know, but he's been fine. Holton is a name that I don't think the Tigers are going to par with, but Tyler Holton on this team would be pretty awesome. He's the only lefty in the Tigers' pen, which makes me say they're not going to part with Holton, because then again, they wouldn't have any lefties in the pen after that. But he's been awesome. Kind of a down year in comparison to recent years for Holton. But still, ERA hovering around 3. The FIPS approaching 3.8, but not that terrifying in my opinion. Okert's another one for the Astros. He's having a nice year for him. Just realized the Astros are on this list. They're probably part of those fringe teams, right? Yeah, they're part of those fringe teams. Just throw them there. He's a lefty, free agent at the end of this year. He's had a lot of appearances so far. So he's been nice. There's another lefty in that team, Brian Kane. He just got recently demoted to the minors, which scares me a little bit, but I was just going to include him on this list because he's having a nice year. Brian Abreu is another guy on the Astros. He's having a god-awful year, but he's shown in recent years that he's a high-level reliever. You'd be getting him at his lowest value regardless. But Okert would be a nice one, man. He's balling out for the Astros this year. Brooks Raley for the Mets. That's another name, similar to Minter. He's having a nice year. Getting up there in age, free agent at the end of this year. That would kind of be like a Steven Matz situation, in my opinion, if we would trade for him. But the ERA is literally hovering around 2. K minus walk looks nice. Whip is looking good. So there's some other names on this list. Who did we talk about? Caleb Ferguson's slightly terrifying. This guy's ERA is about to explode. But he's having a decent year in that Reds pen, which has been pretty bad this year. Brock Burke's one that I would be very open to, but the walks are a little bit of an issue for him. Michael Peterson is a righty, so that's not a name we really need to talk about, but he's having a good year out of the Marlins pen. Yuki Matsui's been neutralizing lefties for the most part. He's had some scary outings lately. Not a free agent for another 2 years after this year, so even 3. 2 years, 2 to 3 years. The FIP is 2 entire runs higher than his ERA, which is again pretty scary, but he's a crafty lefty that can get the job done. Bernie, obviously former Sock, great Sock. I love Brandon Bernardino. He's having a good year for the Rockies. He's pitching well in cores, which is very impressive actually. Bring him back for the lefty, be the lefty in the pen. That would be a nice little addition for him. He sometimes has scary outings, but really any arm does. Eric Miller is similar to Caleb Ferguson. The whip is terrifying, but he strikes out enough guys to kind of warrant that. Sam Henches is an arm that's super interesting. Struggles with command a little bit. Not a free agent until 2028, but he's been really good. Again, the whip is terrifying. K minus walk ratio is also pretty terrifying. I'm just gonna start highlighting names I'm talking about here. Who else do we got? Lynch for the Royals, not a free agent until 2029. He would be a nice addition to the pen. He neutralized some of those lefties. Gives a little bit of an arm slot difference too. Schreiber's a name I included on this list. Probably isn't going to happen. Free agent at the end of this year. Zephyr Hahn is an interesting name. Not even pre-arb yet, and he's already 28. So he's another arm that just... There's an arm that really interested me on this list that I really wanted to highlight, and that is Sammy Natera for the Angels. He's making his debut. This is his rookie year this year. Pre-arb. He's 26. He's having an awesome year out of their pen. He only has like 14-ish appearances. 15. But he's a nice young lefty. That could be a nice addition to this bullpen. Kind of help us down the road eventually. So he's having a nice year. He would probably be thrown in a package if we did end up trading someone over. Who else do we have this? Hogan Harris, similar to Ferguson and Miller, and Henches for that matter. The whip is terrifying. He does strike out a lot of guys though, and he's pitching well in Suter Health, which is kind of impressive. Caught my eye. He had a good year last year too. So, that being said, a lefty in this bullpen would be nice. I think just adding to the pen in any regards. You can only help a team by adding to the bullpen. And Craig loves adding to the bullpen, so I'm assuming a bullpen arm is going to come to this team at some point before the trade deadline. Which this year's trade deadline is going to be super interesting, man. Obviously, for the Sox specifically, it's going to be a pivotal one. But in general, if you could add a lefty to the bullpen, kind of give us a little bit more lefty insurance. But even if you didn't, Moran has been great out of that lefty kind of neutralizing spot, and the bullpen's getting the job done. So you don't typically need one. Again, there's righties on this list that would be amazing to add. Mason Miller is the dream. Also, I was going to include a category for right-handed batters on this team. And I was going to just literally put Fernando Tatis Jr. But I don't think it's going to happen. But Miller would be a dream as well. Weaver, I think, could even realistically happen if we would strike a deal with the Mets. But then again, I don't know. You can only make the bullpen better, realistically, which I keep saying and then keep contradicting myself. But if I had to include a name that I think could come to the Sox, it'd probably be Minter, Oker. Minter for sure because he's on the Mets. Some of these other selling teams, Lynch would be a nice addition. Angels, if they would give us anyone, that would be awesome. And the Royals, again, I mentioned Lynch. Tigers would have to fall off hard to give us Holton. That kind of ruins their future. Bernardino would be a nice bring back Bernie. That'd be a cool addition. Matsui, really any of these names, I'd be okay with adding. Now the part that I kind of dreaded too. So if we end up selling, which again, it would be pretty hard to sell. I'm recording this before the doubleheader for the Orioles series. We'd have to lose every single game until the Orioles series for this to even be a possibility, in my opinion, or even just just start fucking losing. But for selling, I've broken into 3 categories. Green is a big return. Baby Ocean Blue is likely included in a deal, and then this kind of green beige color is lit. The first 2 names that I'm obviously going to be talking about here are Roldis and Sonny. Sonny has a mutual option for 2027. They're both free agents officially in 2028. Sonny, his deal was kind of reconstructed to be a 1-year deal for the most part. But Chappie's had some scary outings lately, but he's been Aroldis Chapman. Sonny Gray has been a godsend for this team as far as rotation help. So these guys, I definitely, if we would sell, these 2 would probably be on the move. Sonny has a no trade clause, but he says he'd already be open to it. Well, we're winning recently, so maybe he's going to say no. Who knows? Maybe he's going to follow after his brother in arms, Willson Contreras, and say, I'm not leaving Sox, right? Whitlock, I would hate to leave or really part with, but he's having a great year for him. And I think Guerrero could realistically slide into that closing spot. But Whitlock has been the best setup man in the league since 2025. I'm saying that coming off of no prior nothing to back it up. I'm just saying that. But that would be an arm that teams would definitely give up a lot for. So that's another name. We have 2 young guys, Connolly Early and Marcelo. Marcelo's been kind of an albatross this year. He's been god awful offensively. Defensively, he's been pretty bad short too since he took over there. Connolly has been nice. He was nice for probably his first 15, not even 15, probably first 10 starts. And then the home run ball started to get to him, and then he won the IL. So I don't think they would deal for Connolly. Maybe they might. Who knows? Maybe they get Mason Miller. And maybe they get Neto. And he's in part of those deals. Who knows? Marcelo would probably go back. I think I'm not done with Marcelo by any means, really. I think he's still a good baseball player. I think at second base he fits more nicely than he does at short. Obviously, Kemp as a shortstop was supposed to be the shortstop in the future. That might not happen. That's how baseball works, man. But and then we have these 3 little names here. Patrick Sandoval just came back recently to be a starter. Teams that really need starting depth, particularly the Cubs, if they need any help, starting help, Sandoval would be just okay for them. He's been okay for the Sox, right? Romy's been kind of struggling recently since he came back, but he's had some nice games recently. He's kind of the he's obviously still hits lefties well. Even this year in a short sample size, I think he has a 300-point difference between his OPS against righties and lefties in a 50 plate appearance sample size. Still, nonetheless, he has a role in this team. I just think if you shore up second base and you shore up first base and Moss is in the DH spot, it kind of creates a rough playing time situation for him, so that could be a thing. Last name I want to talk about, Isaiah Kiner Falefa. Dude pimps walks.
I just spit a little when I said that. But dude pimps walks is what I said. He's been walking a ton this year. His OPS was right around 700. He's been nice. He's been nice. He's having a career year. Not even a career year. His career year was probably a few years ago with the Blue Jays when he had a nice first half. But he's a nice 1 year thing. He's just come back. I think he has imaging scheduled for his shoulder next week, I believe. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was a shoulder injury. So he has imaging for next week on that shoulder. But he's having a nice year. A team would probably pay for him, similar to how they did the last year with the Blue Jays trading for him. But yeah, so obviously, I believe it was either a forearm or elbow for Kiner Falefa, but I think he's getting imaging done. After the imaging, he's probably going to be cleared for a hitting program, so he would probably be back right around the deadline. But that's kind of the trade deadline that I envisioned for this team. To kind of close things out, if I said there was some names that I want to see in this team, Zach Neto would be awesome for this. Shore up in a Linfield, shore up shortstop for the future. The defense is kind of rough a little bit, which I'd be willing to live with because he still hits the ball well. Fenway pulls the ball in the air, kind of sprays the ball around the infield, around the outfield, sprays the ball over the monster. Hit the monster a little. Luis Arraez, I could definitely see happen. He's having a career year defensively, so that's a thing that I could see this team prioritizing. Left-handed, kind of clears up the leadoff spot in this team too, which can give guys like Seti and Wilson and Willier kind of more breathing room. They have a guy on base that can manufacture some runs. Lindor's an interesting name. Looking back, I don't think the Mets are probably going to trade him. Some of the other guys in this list, like Glaber, I wouldn't be surprised if he comes to the Sox. Bullpen, like Minter, Weaver would be awesome for this bullpen, but I doubt they trade for him. Really, any lefty. The lefties I'm prioritizing would be Minter, Lynch, and Okert. Even a Brooks Raley would be a nice little veteran addition to this team. Catching depth. If you got Hunter Goodman, that would be a dream. But if you got Jeffers too, that would be nice. I would say if you get right, I'm kind of shooting for the stars here, considering how trade deadlines have gone recently for this team. But if you got Jeffers, Jesus Christ, if you got Jeffers, a Neto, a Rise, or Glaber, and then you got like a Minter or someone for bullpen, Minter or Raley, whoever it is. Yeah, that would be a great team, and you would probably do something big in the playoffs. But we will see how it goes. We have 12 games until the trade deadline. We have the rest of the series against the Orioles. We have the 3 game against the Blue Jays, who, by the way, are god awful this year. That was a team that I considered playing on the selling list, but I doubt they trade a division. They might. Who knows? Maybe this just blows by my face and the Blue Jays and the Red Sox strike a deal. But in division trades, I'm a big no on because I don't think they happen. I don't think a lot of times they happen, is what I should say. We're gonna see how the trade deadline goes. Big deals are probably gonna happen like August 1st, 3rd. I'll give some of my reactions to that if stuff does happen around that time. You have the A's, you have the Dodgers, you have the Blue Jays, and you have the rest of the Orioles series. So you have some breathing room. The A's are pretty bad recently. The Dodgers take a game or two. That's a success. And put yourself in a position to win. Again, we have that 3rd wild card place in lock right now. Hopefully, we win tomorrow. Keep the win streak going. 16 wins would be absolutely insane. But we have that third wild card in lock right now.
Some of the teams are starting to creep up on Baltimore before they faced us, whereas a like red hot team. But I would say, really, as far as contention for the rest of the year, would likely be the Rangers, Mariners. Again, that division's flip flopping. Orioles are probably going to sneak up, and then the Astros would be a team that I'd watch out for too. Tigers even. But I'm pretty confident in this trade deadline. If we do anything, I consider it a success. What else? I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'm probably gonna do this again next year. Do a little off-season preview too. If any big trades happen or anything, I'll probably give my reaction to that too. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next one. Anyone who is watching this video that has been waiting for some of these horror games recently, I will get to them eventually, probably in the next few weeks. We'll be starting those up soon. But I will see you guys in the next one.